Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Okay, I'm just turning off my mic for 2 seconds, and then I will proceed with Lador Vador. Lador Vador Nagigalecha. Lador Lador Nagigalecha. Nitzavim Kedushat HaNakdish V'shivcha Eloheinu Mipinu lo yamush li'olam va'ed. V'shivcha Eloheinu Mipinu lo yamush li'olam va'ed. Ki ha'melech kadosh v'kadosh ata. Lidor vador lador lenecha. Lidor lador negigalecha. Nitzavim Kedushat HaNakdish. Let the show go on. Ladies and gentlemen, who would like to start us reading?
I can start.
All right, Bracha, you're on.
You stand this day, all of you, before the eternal your God. You tribal heads, you elders, and you officials, all the men of Israel. You children, you women, even the stranger within your camp, from wood chopper to water drawer, to enter into the covenant of the eternal your God, which the eternal your God is concluding with you this day with its sanctions, in order to establish you this day as God's people, and in order to be your God, as promised you and as sworn to your fathers Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov. I make this covenant with its sanctions, not with you alone, but both with those who are standing here with us this day before the eternal our God, and with those who are not with us here this day. Well, you know that we dwelt in the land of
Raka? Oh.
not going up.
Oh, did you already get? I didn't see. Did you get down here?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. How did I lose my place? I'm sorry.
I think she couldn't
Right.
see Egypt, the line that says Egypt. I think the last two lines might not have been read.
Okay. So I just read the line that says 15 and then it needs to go up. It's not on my screen.
Yeah, she can't see the last three lines, Gary, I think. Egypt, and can I take it from there, Baraka? And then you can start
Yes.
on the top?
Yes.
Well, you know that we dwelt in the land of Egypt and that we passed through the midst of various other nations. And you have seen the detestable things in the fetishes of wood and stone.
Silver and gold that they keep. Perchance there is among you some man or woman or some clan or tribe whose heart is even now turning away from the eternal our God to go and worship the gods of those nations. Perchance there is among you a stock sprouting poison, weed, and wormwood. When hearing the words of these sanctions, such one may imagine a special immunity, thinking, I shall be safe, though I follow my own willful heart, to the utter ruin of moist and dry alike. The Eternal will never forgive such individuals. Rather, the Eternal's anger and passion will rage against them, till every sanction recorded in this book comes down upon them, and the Eternal blots out their name from under heaven. As for such a clan or tribe, the Eternal will single it out from all the tribes of Israel for misfortune, in accordance with all the sanctions of the covenant recorded in this book of teaching. And later generations will ask, the children who succeed you, and foreigners who come from distant lands and see the plagues and diseases that the Eternal has inflicted upon that land, all its soil devastated by sulfur and salt, beyond sowing and producing, no grass growing in it, just like the upheaval of Sodom and Gomorrah, Admah and Zebolim, which the Eternal overthrew in fierce anger. All nations will ask, why did the Eternal do thus to this land? Wherefore that awful wrath? They will be told, because they forsook the covenant that the Eternal God of their ancestors made with them upon freeing them from the land of Egypt. They turned to the service of other gods and worshipped them, gods whom they had not experienced and whom God had not allotted to them. So the Eternal was incensed at all that land and brought upon it all the curses recorded in this book. The Eternal uprooted them from their soil in anger, fury, and great wrath, and cast them into another land, as is still the case. Concealed acts concern the Eternal our God, but with overt acts, it is for us and our children ever to apply all the provisions of this teaching. When all these things before you, the blessing and the curse that I have said before you, and you take them to heart amidst the various nations to which the Eternal your God has banished you, and you return to the Eternal your God, and you and your children heed God's command with all your heart and soul, just as I enjoin upon you this day, then the Eternal your God will restore your fortunes and take you back in love. God will bring you together again from all the peoples where the Eternal your God has scattered you. Even if your outcasts are at the ends of the world, from there the Eternal your God will gather you from. There God will fetch you, and the Eternal your God will bring you to the land that your fathers possessed, and you shall possess it, and God will make you more prosperous and more numerous than your ancestors. Then the Eternal your God will open up your heart and the hearts of your offspring, to love the eternal your God with all your heart and your soul, in order that you may live. The eternal your God will inflict all those curses upon the enemies and foes who persecuted you. You, however, will again heed the eternal and obey all the divine commandments that I enjoin upon you this day. And the eternal your God will grant you abounding prosperity in all your undertakings, in your issue from the womb, your offspring from the cattle, and your produce from the soil. For the eternal will again delight in your well-being as in that of your ancestors, and keeping the divine commandments and laws that are recorded in this book of the teaching, once you return to the eternal your God with all your heart and soul. You want to continue?
That's, this is something great, isn't it? It's just wonderful, don't you think? I mean, it's like,
Yes.
oh my goodness, because, well, the first thing I noticed is that Moses tells us that God is going to, obliterate the land if the Israelites don't follow God's commands, but he never really obliterated the land, right? That's a great thing.
Great thing. Hashem is there to forgive.
Yes. And then he explains how he's going to put us.
Is something frozen?
Back though, here we are back in the land, 1940. I'm not used to doing this on my phone, but wow, what do you think?
We keep losing you, Mike.
Oh, I'm sorry, the phone keeps cutting me off. Can you hear me now? Probably not.
Yeah, no, we hear you right now. But
okay.
The idea of teshuvah, the fact, not just they were talking about it now, but the fact is, as we approach the high holidays and everything, that's a lot of for teshuvah. But the thing is that teshuvah is something that is there for anybody, anytime, any minute of the day, every day of the year. It's always Yom Kippur. It's always, because the rabbis talked about the fact that Moses, unlike a lot of us, or unlike most of us, Moses knew exactly when he was going to die. God told him where he was going to go, and there you're going to. So you're supposed to you perform teshuvah. The rabbis, in the Talmud, they say that before you die, the day before you die. Well, how do you know when you're going to die? You don't. So you have to make teshuvah every day.
Right.
But it's always there, always available, doesn't cost anything, and it's always right there, and that's important.
You know what I don't understand, and maybe it's just because it's human nature, but every time these people go astray, something happens. So why don't they learn after all these times that you obey God, you follow what he is teaching?
Naughty little kids.
I know, but then everything would be fine. Instead, they challenge him.
The other
and
thing
that's they're not going to win.
The other interesting thing is right in the beginning of the Pasha, everybody is assembled, whether you're of the upper highest ilk of society or whether you're just, the lowest, like a shepherd, or you know what I mean, in terms of your rank in society. But it's the words are being spoken to everyone that was there, everyone that wasn't there, and all future generations. It's that's kind of cool too, Well, I had this Pasha for my bar mitzvah, so that was almost 50 years
really?
ago. But yeah, back on September 22nd, 1973.
Wow.
You believe it. Yeah. But
and you remembered it well.
I didn't think about it as much back then. I wasn't into it as much as I didn't study it as much as I have since. But that's what I always did find interesting about it.
Do you feel that this particular thing was meant to be your Pasha?
No. And then if you look right here, you could see, well, even though it's the name of the other Pasha, Re'eh, see, look, I have set before you. And here, I set before you life and prosperity, death and adversity. I command you to love the eternal, and there again, to make that choice. Well, that's all interesting stuff. That's great stuff. Did you want to keep reading, Bracha, or did somebody else? It's up to you.
I'm going to do what you tell me to.
All right. Well, Mike
He
isn't here,
obeys.
so. And Ruth, I can't hear you. You're muted.
She said I'm back.
Oh. Did you want to read, or do you want Bracha to read?
Oh, let somebody else read. I'm
All
trying to
right,
fold
Bracha, you want
clothes.
to keep going? Or you can keep going for a bit.
I'll
No,
read if
we're-
nobody else wants to.
Do you want to? All right, go ahead. We're at number 11.
Yeah. Surely this instruction which I enjoin upon you this day is not too baffling for you, nor is it beyond reach. It is not in the heavens that you should say, who among us can go up to the heavens and get it for us and impart it to us that we may observe it? Neither is it beyond the sea that you should say, who among us can cross to the other side of the sea and get it for us and impart it to us that we may observe it? No, the thing is very close to you, in your mouth and in your heart, to observe it. See, I set before you this day life and prosperity, death and adversity. For I command you this day to love the eternal your God, to walk in God's ways, and to keep God's commandments, God's laws, and God's rules, that you may thrive and increase, and that the eternal your God may bless you in the land that you are about to enter and possess. But if your heart turns away, and you give no heed, and are lured into the worship and service of other gods, I declare to you this day that you shall certainly perish. You shall not long endure on the soil that you are crossing the Jordan to enter and possess. I call heaven and earth to witness against you this day. I have put before you life and death, blessing and curse. Choose life if you and your offspring would live. By loving the eternal your God, heeding God's commands, and holding fast to God, for thereby you shall have life and shall long endure upon the soil that the Eternal swore to your fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, to give to them.
Amen.
I
Told you
couldn't
that was
be
a
clearer, though. It couldn't be clearer. You know what he wants.
And I also liked where it says that, how it's, let's go right back. Wait a second. Did I enjoin your plan to stay? It's not too baffling, nor is it beyond reach. It is not in the heavens that you should say. God is basically saying that it's all the natural way that you should
Right.
naturally, it's not anything that's really external to you.
Nope.
Like what
It's there
God's
for you
telling
to
us
follow.
Yeah.
You know
but
what's you know what I got out of this, even though I was only here for a short time, that this is kind of like preparing us for Rosh Hashanah. You know that?
Mhm.
It's preparing us for the high holidays because it's about really reviewing in your head. Are you following what you promised you'd follow?
Right, but while you were gone, I was talking about the fact that Teshuvah is something that's always readily available 24/7.
Right.
And although we collectively, all the Jewish people, we have the holiday, God gives us that one day when we're commanded to kind of do this. But every day of your life,
That's
because
the key.
right,
That's
because you're
right.
supposed to you're supposed to return to, like, you're supposed to make teshuvah like before you die. You don't know when you're going to die, like Moses did, so you
Yeah.
got to do it every day.
Right.
I'm like
do
that
it.
every day.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Now that's for people that aren't me. Now for me, I don't need to do anything because I'm always okay all the time. It's just
You are
for
so
everybody
kosher.
else.
Yeah.
And I like, what I like in there too, it also, where it talks about basically, like, if you're somebody who says, I don't need to follow this, but I'll be okay, I won't have any, I like what it says in there about that. That, I think, was a couple of pages back.
Mhm.
Let's see, your turn. I think it was before this. Your turn.
Is there more reading?
Nope.
Oh, that was a short. That
Yeah,
was really.
I can't find the part that I was. But it was basically saying that the person who thinks that they could say, "Oh, I don't need to follow any of these, but nothing's going to happen to me. I'll be, how God
Right.
will really punish." Like somebody that's like that, God will really punish.
It's right there, Gary, on number 18 on the.
Is it?
And when hearing the
Oh.
words. Of the,
Oh, when hearing the words, oh yeah, a special immunity. That's it. Thinking I
Yeah,
shall be
right.
safe. Yeah.
I follow my own will for a heart.
Well,
Yeah.
God
Right.
says, "BS. I will kick your tuchus off this mess with me, baby." Yeah.
Ay,
Do you
so
ever
much-
wonder that maybe God throws these little challenges in every so often to kind of, peak things up, and he probably wasn't really planning to get rid of them, but giving them a chance to see how his power is much more
It's
much
all-
more than they think.
It's like the whole ball. It's like you think about there are people like that might have survived the Holocaust
Oh.
and experience like unbelievable joys in life of whatever it is after that. So it's like, life is heaven and hell.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of getting through it all. It's a matter of how you get through it all. It's a matter of what you do with what comes your way. When the going gets tough, you could jump off a tall building, or you could say, I'm strong, God is with me, I keep on trucking.
Yeah,
Really
interesting.
when it comes. Is that an echo?
Who's that? Is there somebody talking?
Alba?
Alba's not used to.
Alba!
What did she say?
Hello,
know.
Alba!
Alba, your camera's on. Oh, now it's off.
Ah.
Now.
Oh, I thought
I
she
don't
had
get to
something
see
very
your lovely
important to tell
face.
us.
It's
Hey.
technology's too much a little bit.
Yeah, Look at Shalom. I mean, Shalom is lost when it comes to technology. But I think
Everybody's different. Listen, I want you
Yeah.
to know I have a almost 52-year-old daughter, and she just learned how to text on her phone.
Yeah, baby.
She's never been into technology. My other daughter is completely the opposite. But this daughter is not married, and she's never used a smartphone, and somebody gave her a smartphone. And so for the first time in the last 2 weeks, we've been able to text each other.
You know Jeff Goldsmith, right?
Yeah, I know, Jeff.
Back in the late 90s, early 2000s, when cell phones were really, before we had iPhones, but cell
Yeah.
phones were real, he would not get one for the longest time. He kept saying, "Oh, I've survived all these years without a phone." He goes,
right.
"Even when I'm driving, it doesn't matter." But then, to this day, like every time when he pulls out his phone, I say, "Oh God, Jeff, I remember what you were saying 24 years ago."